Welcome to a double
and
dice
with your host Kim
and Jocelyn.
Pour your favorite beverage,
pull up a comfy chair,
because we are ready to roll.
Welcome to episode 40 of A Double in Dice, and we are continuing on our series of female characters in Dice Masters. But before we get to the one that we're going to be talking about today, we're going to dive into a very heavy dice bag.
Are we really, Kim?
Diving into the dice bag?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was the dice bag really that heavy?
I think so.
I think it was too. I was just being silly. No, this first episode of our focus on female characters in Dice Masters was really well received, and we got some great feedback from folks. I'm not going to share everything that we got because some of it was really focused on suggestions of characters that people would like to see us focus on, and some ideas about different angles we could take. Because I don't know if you know this, Kim. Like, stop me if you've heard this before, but comic books can be confusing.
I think so, yes. There's too many worlds and earths and all this stuff.
Multiverses and things like that.
Yeah.
So in some cases, particularly with very popular characters that appear often, there's a lot of different routes you could take. And some of that was what was suggested in the feedback we received. So I want to thank everyone that reached out and provided suggestions of characters they'd like to see us focus on and angles that we could take. And if we do focus on those characters in future, which we probably will, because this is a series, Kim, that I think that we can probably take for like at least a year.
Probably till the end of the year.
No, like an actual year, not just till the end of the year. No, we wouldn't just do that because that's a lot of the same type of episodes. But I think
we could break it up. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's something we're going to do on an ongoing basis. And when we get to those suggestions, we will definitely call out and thank those that have made the recommendations for us, if that makes sense. So let's thank everybody who sent in suggestions for what characters they'd like to see, and stay tuned. You will hear about some of those characters in the future. Let's start with everyone's fave hero, Donnie. Where did Donnie leave us feedback, Kim?
Always on YouTube.
Always on YouTube. youtube.com/dmNorthTV. You can find our episodes. They go up there on Monday afternoons. And Donnie said, in response to our episode with Age of Ultron, they wanted to make the packs complement the starters, so they made it a bit easier to get the fourth common character to help get more dice for the dice for the cards in the starters, was what he said. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why there were 4 common cards of the female Thor in Age of Ultron, and there were 4 common cards in Age of Ultron for a number of characters. So that's interesting. It helps you get to your max 4 dice. Mm-hmm. But, I mean,
who puts 4 dice on a card? I don't know.
You don't need 4 dice.
Uh-uh.
Not always, but sometimes. Depends on what it is.
Maybe it's a swarm character, sure.
On a 5 or a 6 cost Thor, you probably don't need 4 dice.
No.
But with that said, I am a collector, so I like to have 4 of everything. So, unless it's a unique max 1 die.
Or 5.
Or whatever. No, I don't collect 5. 4 is my limit.
Really? But there's a Jubilee card that has a max 5.
The only character that I'm trying to get 6 dice for is Multiple Man.
You still don't have 6 dice?
I only have 5, I think.
Oh.
I have to double check. I had the hardest time getting Multiple Man dice. We are 100% off topic here, Kim. So I'll have to double check, because I think I did get an extra die from someone, but I don't think it got me to 6. I think it got me to 5.
Is that, he's from Deadpool, right?
Deadpool, yeah. Yeah. Gotta love you some Madrox, Multiple Man. He's the dude. Okay, so Donnie said that's why you had 4 common cards in Age of Ultron. He also wanted to know, Kim, how you are liking the Natalia Romanova card.
Yes, so thank you very much to Donnie. He had an extra copy of Natalia and sent it to me. I have it. It's staring at me right now. She looks at me. But I haven't had a chance to play yet with it. As I said in the comment there, I need a red golden event to break her out.
Okay.
So,
and what is a red golden event? Because that sounds very confusing if you don't know Dice.
She's a very competitive card, and I mean, attack and do 4, right? It's kind of crazy. So, so a red event is pretty much a competitive event. You're looking to win as fast as you can, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So I need a red competitive event, I think, to play her.
And what does golden mean?
Oh, golden is any set that Dice Masters ever made.
Right. It's the format that includes everything that ever existed.
Yep.
Except for 2 cards that are banned.
Correct.
Basic actions. Swords of Revealing Light and Relentless.
Something like that.
Yeah. But I think they're both banned for the globals. But anyway, again, off topic. Donnie said that his favorite female, well, he says Lady Thor, Jane Foster, is the one subtitled Boom. The reason he likes Boom is that when he first started playing, he got into the Civil War on his first set and won his first game using her after losing a bunch of times. So that's a perfectly valid reason to make that your favorite card. I like that idea, and I think that's fantastic. He remembers that. He also said that he's always wanted to try the Lady Thor Global from the Thor set, but he's never really played a lot with those cards. So, Kim, can you remind us what the Thor Global was on that card?
Pay a shield. Target attacking character die goes to the use pile if KO this turn. That one?
Yes, I think that's the one.
Yeah. On the Thor
that
set,
is a very interesting global. So I think it's interesting that Donnie says he's always wanted to try it, but he's never really played with a lot of those cards. So it seems like an opportunity to me.
Mm-hmm. Build a team.
Kim, I think you and Donnie have a build challenge there.
Yep.
For your Friday night Donnie games. Okay, so that was Donnie. Thanks, Donnie, for reaching out and providing that feedback. That's great. Really like to hear that. We also heard from Matt, aka Jordo, and he said, I have never used She-Thor before, so that's catching on. She-Thor. But her global has always intrigued me. I may have to change that. So again, another person who is interested in that global that you just described from the Mighty Thor set, and quite frankly, I don't even think I ever paid attention to that global.
I don't think anybody has.
So, I think it's maybe perhaps an undiscovered gem. What can we do with that? You know who we haven't heard from lately?
Who's that?
We haven't heard from Nick.
Oh yeah, Nick, what's going on? Last week we didn't hear
Nick
from
in a
you.
while. It's been several weeks since we've heard from Nick.
Well, I think school started back now.
Probably, and also he has, the little munchkin and stuff going on. But the reason I think about that is because this sounds like a ripe for shenanigans whiteboard team with that global. And I can just picture Nick building something that I will not understand until he explains it to me with a whiteboard. So if you have any ideas on what you can do with that global, remind us again, Kim, what the global said.
Pay a shield. Target attacking character die goes to the use pile if KO'd this turn.
Okay. So what shenanigans can you build with that? We would love to see the teams that you can come up with that Thor global. And maybe we'll play some of them.
Yeah, we should play the lady cards that we talk about.
We absolutely should. Maybe once we have talked about enough of them to make a relevant team.
An all-female team. We still have to get on our other games.
Well, there'll be time. I just came back from holidays.
Yep.
So thanks, Matt, for that. He also said, as for team of the month, because I believe we have been needling him. I was going with needling, but nagging. Okay. Matt and Laurier to start team of the month again. He says, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what comes of that. No pun intended. And then finally, also on the YouTubes, we heard from Rob Petfor from Breath Weapon X. And he said that Natalia Romanova is one of his favorite cards. She's so powerful, especially with her Avengers affiliation. If you play the rare Moon Knight from Infinity Gauntlet. And then he said in brackets, and Asuka.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because they're masked characters.
Yeah, because they're mask characters. So the rare Moon Knight from Infinity Gauntlet, I think, copies an Avenger.
I can pull it up and let you know.
I think that's what it does, but Kim will confirm. And Asuka is a 3-cost mask character that while she's active, your mask character dice cost 2 less to purchase. And when you field a character die with a mask energy type, she gets a +1A, +1D.
So Moon Knight is at the beginning of the game. Choose one of your Avengers character cards. For the remainder of the game, Moonlight is considered to have the text of that card, including global abilities, instead of this text, replacing their name with its own if available or applicable.
There you go. So you could potentially have Natalia Romanova and Moon Knight doing the same thing.
Yep.
And Moon Knight is a
5 mask.
And what was Natalia Romanova?
Wasn't she also a mask?
No,
she's a. Look, I should know this, shouldn't I? She's a bolt. She's a bolt.
But what's her cost? Is she a 6
Oh,
cost?
7 cost.
7.
Yeah. Avenger.
So so you can copy her with the Moon Knight and make her a 5 cost with Moon Knight, and then Asuka would make her a 3 cost.
Correct.
So that sounds quite horrible, to be honest, Rob.
Red event.
If you're on the receiving end of it and your team is not prepared. So he continues that he hasn't really played any of the female Thor characters other than her, as he came to the same conclusion as we did, which is that they weren't generally very good.
Yeah.
He did say the Earth X Thor could be quite useful with a certain Mr. Warlock, and that is a callback to some teams that Rob and I have been putting together around the Energize Adam Warlock from Infinity Gauntlet that allows you to take a die from your reserve pool. Take a die from your field zone and place it in your reserve pool so you can essentially refield it. Mm-hmm. So that could be very interesting with that Earth X Thor because it does all kinds of things. Like that was the one that had the underdog and the when fielded effects and things like that, where it was KOing dice and what have you. So that is a good call out, Rob. And, if you wanted to put that on your team that we have been trying to play a game and record for the and we've had some computer technical difficulties in the recording, that would be of interest. So we'll see. He also added that with regards to the subtitles, because we were talking about how the subtitles really tied into the female Thor characters in the comics.
Right.
He says he's recently been watching the X-Men animated series for the first time, and some of the subtitles and the abilities on the characters featured in it definitely make more sense now.
I like that series. I used to watch it way back then. And it's on Disney Plus, so I started rewatching it.
I don't know that I've ever really watched it before. I've seen maybe an episode here or there, but not really anything crazy. So anyway, but big thanks to Rob for providing us that feedback. And that rare Moon Knight from Infinity Gauntlet with Asuka is a great idea with that Natalia Romanova. So Kim, I think you should try that out.
All right. Red event. Okay. I need a red golden event.
Well, build one.
Yep.
And then finally, we heard from Comics Mike, and he reached out to Kim and I via Discord. And he said that him and his children just finished listening to the latest podcast. He has a son, some of you know Samuel from Dice Social, and a daughter who does not play Dice Masters, but likes to hang out and bother her brother while he's playing. Clara, yep. And she likes to draw pictures and
We've
say
gotten
hello.
Wonderful pictures from her.
Yeah, she's very good art. So he says, we always enjoy tabletop Dice, and thank you for making it. I super enjoyed the deep dive into one character. This is something that you could do more often. You can focus on underused characters or characters that have many good versions. And then he made a suggestion himself of a character that he would like to see featured in future, which coincidentally was the same as one of the ones that we received by email from Andy May. So we may see that character in future. He also says, thank you for all your hard work and time. So that's really nice of you. And then he says, P.S. Samuel loves True Mr. Six's song. He started singing about Orbital Strike right away. So hopefully, if you listened to the last episode, you listened all the way to the end and you heard the lovely little theme song that Chris from the Ministry of Dice did up for Kim and I. And it was definitely quite catchy and I quite enjoyed it. So big thanks to Chris for putting that together for us. And I'm glad to hear that Samuel enjoyed it.
We'll add it to this episode too. So look out for it.
Yeah.
Listen to the end.
Listen all the way to the end. Yeah, it's worth the wait. So it's worth the drive to Acton, as they say.
In Canada.
Yeah, nobody's going to get that except the people that live in the Greater Toronto.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, well, we have to have our own weird things that people don't
You know what? They're going to ask us now. They're going to be like, what does that mean? So we'll tell you in the next episode if anybody asks us.
Yeah. So that is the dice bag.
Yeah.
So quite a lot that we chatted about and quite a lot to hear. So again, thanks to everyone who reached out. You can reach out to us in all the ways that we're going to cover off at the end of the episode. And if you don't want us to read your email on the podcast, again, just let me know and we won't read it out. But we'd still love to hear from you, whether you want us to read it or not. And we do actually reply too.
Will you?
Yeah, usually.
Sometimes.
Mostly.
Majority.
Yeah. And that is the dice bag.
Awesome.
Back
so
to
now,
you, Kim.
For our next character that we're going to talk about today, and it's Big Barda. She only has 3 cards that was ever made for her.
She does.
But before we
That
talk
is
about
true.
that, what's her backstory, Jocelyn? Let's learn about Big Barda.
Okay. I feel like we're in like a weird after-school special thing about comic books.
Today's word is Big Barda.
And knowing is half the battle. No. So Big Barda is a new god from Apocalypse. And she fell in love with someone called Mr. Miracle and became a warrior for good. So she was originally a member of a group called the Female Furies, and she has now joined the Justice League of America, so JLA, and the Birds of Prey. So in sort of summary, and again, as we prefaced our last episode when we talked about Thor, Kim and I do not have a lot of comic book knowledge, so we're doing some research, and the internet is our friend, and Google and things like that are helpful to us. So all of this information that I'm sharing is from dc.fandom.com. And basically what I have learned is that Big Barda was bred at a gestation lab in Apocalypse, but she was a natural child. Okay. So she wasn't, I guess, created artificially like some of the others were. Mm-hmm. And she was taken away from her family and was raised at an orphanage without ever knowing her mother. So that's kind of a sad backstory for Big Barda, that she had parents, but they took her away from them and raised her in their own way. So the planet Apocalypse was ruled by Darkseid. If you did not know that. Apocalypse is spelt with a K. So it's a different spelling.
Okay.
But the motto of the home where she was raised, which was called Granny's Goodness Home for Orphaned Youth, is Die for Darkseid. So, I think when I read that, I thought of it like, Klingons, how they run into battle and they say today is a good day to die. And it's all about Kahless, their leader, and he died in battle. So I get sort of that sort of vibe from this article. I don't know if that is anything to do with actual what happens with Big Barda, if there's any of that warrior culture, but it seems like it from what I've been reading in this article. So Granny was grooming Barda to lead the Female Fury Battalion, which is a ferocious pack of women warriors. But Barda met someone named Scott Free, who was Darkseid's adopted son, and fell in love with him. And she risked her own safety to help Scott escape from Apocalypse. And then Barda turned her back on Granny, and then she came to Earth with Scott, and Scott became Mr. Miracle. And got married.
So she used to be bad, and then she turned good? Or was she
That's
always
right.
good? Okay.
No, she was raised in a way that she was kind of a bad guy.
Right.
A bad girl. And then she fell in love with this person, Scott, who was Darkseid's adopted son. And it says here that she sensed a peace about him. So she helped him escape from Apocalypse and joined him on Earth, where he became Mr. Miracle, who's an escape artist. And then they got married.
I didn't even know that was Mr. Miracle's name.
Scott Free.
Hmm.
And I did not know that Mr. Miracle was also Darkseid's adopted son.
Didn't know that either.
But I also, for many years, thought that you pronounced Darkseid as Darkseid. But I had to.
I thought it was Darkseid, but
it is Darkseid. But I thought it was Darkseid.
But it's spelled different, right?
Yeah, it's just the spelling is a little odd, and Rob had to put me on the straight and narrow there. So. Okay, so what else do we know about Big Barda? So she, at the time in when she was created, female characters typically were not portrayed in comic books as strong characters, right? They were the people being rescued, per se. But in DC Comics, when she was coming up, she was the reverse of that stereotype. She's physically more powerful than her husband, Mr. Miracle. She's more willing to use her strength in battle, and she's very protective of her husband. So she's kind of like an alpha female, I guess would be a way to describe it. Mm-hmm. And although she was naive about Earth customs, she really enjoyed her roles of wife and housekeeper. But whenever needed, whenever the duty called, she didn't hesitate to assume the posture of a warrior to protect her family, which I think is a very common thing for women to be portrayed as. But I think it's also kind of how women are. They're very protective of their families, right?
Right.
I think men are as well, and I'm not trying to say they aren't, but yeah, it's interesting that they did this reversal of the stereotype, and they gave her that concept of, I want to be a wife and a housekeeper, but I also want to protect my family, and I want to fight in battle and be a warrior and help protect the earth and all those types of things. So I think it was maybe a little bit ahead of its time. I was just looking here to see. So her first appearance in comics books was in 1971. So that's when she was kind of introduced. So we'd be talking about 70s and 80s at the time when, like I said, based on this article again.
And,
yeah. So, but yeah, she is a very tall character. She's 6'2", which is very tall for her.
Yeah.
So she, spent a lot of time, working with her husband, following him around as an escape artist on tour. And when Mr. Miracle joined the Justice League, Big Barda joined and participated in some of those missions. They tried to retire. It didn't work well. And they ended up, doing some other things. There's a whole thing in here where I think this is a take on Glow, the Glorious Ladies of Wrestling. Big Barda joined something called the BBBW, Bad and Beautiful Babes of Wrestling.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of like a take on that concept of Glow, Glorious Ladies of Wrestling, which is from the 80s, I believe. And she also formed a defense training program for women called the New Female Furies. So again, helping women protect themselves, which I think is really great.
Yeah.
So she served as part of the Justice League of America. And, there's some other things that have happened to her in her timeline. She was captured by a villain called Sleaze. And, just the villain's name tells you enough. You can look that article up if you want and learn about that. But it seems like there was some nefarious stuff happening and things were happening to her against her will. Superman was involved. He was also captured. And Mr. Miracle had to come and rescue them. So that's kind of what's going on. So she is a new god. So new gods live outside of time and space in a realm called the Fourth World, and they have evolved in this way due to their proximity to something called the Source, which is like a primeval energy, and they are immortal, stronger, faster, and smarter than regular humans, but even though they look just like humans. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, she's immortal. She's got superhuman durability, reflexes, stamina, and strength. And she has experience in hand-to-hand combat and weaponry. It says here that she even has managed to fight Wonder Woman to a draw, where neither of them lost. But she does have a weakness to radion. It says new gods are vulnerable to a substance called radion. Its source is unknown and its effects are toxic only in sustained amounts or after explosive exposure. So it's something that is out there, and that seems like a very kind of DC thing, again, from my very limited knowledge of comic books. But I am familiar with kryptonite. And kryptonite is like, it's toxic to Superman. So I feel like radion is toxic to new gods. So maybe it's a theme in DC Comics. I don't know, because we're just starting to delve into this. So if you know and you want to let us know, is this a thing? Is there something that the Flash has got like that or something like that, or other characters? Some sort of magical substance that will
I'm sure there's a lot of them that has something that stops them, right?
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah. So, but what I really liked about the learning about Big Barda is that, it was sort of a reverse of the typical stereotype when she was introduced, and that she had kind of a balance. She liked doing, the stuff at home, wife, housemaker, but also liked protecting her family and being a warrior and Justice League and Female Furies and helping women protect themselves. I like all of that. I think it's a great potential role model for kids.
She's a jack of all trades.
There you go. She's got it all.
Jacket of all trades.
She's got it all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
cool.
Big Barda.
Wow. That's everything I learned was new there. I didn't know anything about her.
I knew that she was Mr. Miracle's wife, because Rob and I have talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of all I knew.
Cool. So in Dice Masters, she only got 3 cards.
Yeah, which set are they from?
They are all from Batman.
Okay. Well,
3 cards, Batman set. So DC, obviously. So, yay, DC. All her cards cost 5 cost. They're 5 cost. All 5th character. And she has a new god affiliation, which there's only other 2 characters that have new god affiliation in Dice Masters, which are
Mr. Miracle
and
I don't know.
Orion.
Okay.
Yeah. All
your
from
favorite
Batman
Orion.
Set. Yes, the rare Orion. Yeah. All from also Batman set. So I guess it just came out of Batman set, but they never made any more of that affiliation.
Well, I mean,
maybe.
I don't know the story of Kryptonite Crisis, but maybe.
Who knows? So she has the 3 rarities. So she's got a common, an uncommon, and a rare. Her uncommon is called Hell Hath No Fury.
Her common?
Mm-hmm.
Not her uncommon?
No. Her common. And it's while Big Barda is active, other new god character dice gets +2 A and +2 D.
Okay.
So a buffer.
Yeah, what's her stat line?
Her stat line is 133, 144, 266. So not bad.
So bad.
No. I mean, it's cost every level to field her, but it's not like a 3 cost at the end or anything. It's not like 1, 2, 3 or something.
No, it's a pretty reasonable cost, and I mean, she's a god. She's supposed to be immortal, and it's too bad she doesn't have the immortal keyword, but that didn't exist until the Thor set came out. Maybe we'll have immortal keyword on future versions of Big Barda, maybe, if she ever comes back.
If she comes back, yeah.
But, a 5 cost, she's a little bit expensive to get to, but not impossible. And she buffs other characters, and it's going to be a little harder to get her out of the field, potentially.
Yep.
Because of that defense.
Yeah.
3, 4, 6, right?
6, yeah. Yeah, so not bad. I mean, if you want your other new gods to get a little bit buff, especially Mr. Miracle, because if I remember, his stats are not very good.
They're a little soft.
Yeah. So.
Which is representative of what we just learned, right? That she was stronger and more powerful than her husband.
Mm-hmm.
In the comics.
Right.
What I don't like about this card is it says other new gods character dice.
Not including herself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wish it just said new gods character
new
dice
god
get
character,
+2A and +2D.
Wow, then she'll be awesome.
Then she would be awesome. Yeah.
Stats wise, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, she could have been a 4 cost for that. 5 costs to include herself. Oh, maybe a 6 cost to include herself. But yeah, it's a little pricey.
Mm-hmm.
But,
okay. So what about the uncommon, Kim?
Her uncommon one is named Spare the Mega Rod. Isn't that what she holds?
Yeah, it's her weapon.
Did we talk about her weapon?
Not really.
Okay.
But I can. So let me just pull this up here. So there was a reference to Mega Rod in that Sleaze article. But basically, the Mega Rod is capable of projecting a wide arcing blast of concussive force powerful enough to tear through the hull of a heavily armored ship.
Wow.
So it's it's a Mega Rod. It's also called a Power Wand, and it's unique. And so it says that it utilizes the same technology as apocalyptic boom tubes. And it's as a hand-to-hand weapon.
Okay.
So a hand-to-hand weapon that projects a wide arcing blast of concussive force. So it's strong.
Yeah, I guess so. It might just, blow, or what does it, go through a ship? So, all right.
Yep, absolutely.
So her uncommon, they're all 5 cost, all have affiliated. So this one is while Big Barda is active, new god character dice cannot be damaged by villain character dice or action dice.
Okay, so read that again.
So while she's active, new god character dice, this also includes her, cannot be damaged by villain character dice or action dice.
Well, that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it protects all the new gods, including herself, from villains or actions, which, again, I think is very thematic. If you think about it from the perspective here, she was a villain, she became a good person, and she became a hero, I guess is the word we're looking for. And she protects people. So she's protecting all of her new god friends. All 2 of her new god friends, Mr. Miracle and Orion.
Right. Or maybe future, we don't know yet.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, that's not bad. So, okay. I mean, you could make a new god affiliation team with just them 3 and go to town. And her last one is her rare, Miraculous Escape. Big Barda cannot be KO'd by combat damage.
I think that's my favorite one.
So any kind of combat damage, really.
Yeah. So Overcrush, not happening.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
Because that's combat damage, it's not ability damage. So you'd have to damage her through some sort of ability.
Yeah. Non-combat damage.
Yeah.
I like that one. If you do put Overcrush on her Overcrush ground damage would go, but she won't take anything. So.
Yeah, so there'd be no Overcrush damage because you have to KO all your blockers, right? And what's great about that, if she can't be KO'd by combat damage, you can, attack with her and she won't be KO'd. You can block with her and she won't be KO'd by combat damage. You could still be KO'd by something like Deadly.
Yeah.
Right? Character dice engage with the character with Deadly or KO'd at the end of the turn. But like Overcrush or just straight on stats, attack versus defense, that stuff is not going to kill her, but it might kill your opponent. Your opponent's character, right? So
yeah.
And I like the subtitle of that one as Miraculous Escape because it just does kind of tie into the whole Mr. Miracle, right?
Yeah. So yeah, her cards pretty much followed her comic.
Yeah.
Comic story as well as Thor did. So that's cool. Your favorite one is that rare one?
I think the rare one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the uncommon one is going to be hard to put up against. You don't know what people bring, if they're going to bring a villain's team or not. So that's a bit tough. I mean, actions, a lot of people do play action dice. So they can't get hit by, like, I don't know, throwing brick and those kind of things. I mean, buffing your other new gods, that depends on what you're playing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll go with the rare as well. She's a good blocker and attacker, and I mean, do you really want to take a 6 if she is on her high level? So
right. I think if New Gods had more characters in their affiliation, the uncommon potentially could be of more interest.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're playing her in set, this is the Batman set. So if you're not familiar with the Batman set, was it the first introduction of flip cards? I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
So flip cards, they're printed on both sides, and a lot of them were villains on one side and another affiliation on the other. So for example, you would have Batman affiliation on one side and villain affiliation on the other. I'm not really sure why it did that. I'm sure there's some sort of comics related reason. But again, don't know a lot about comics. So, if your opponent had their card on the villain side for some reason, then she wouldn't take any combat damage, the uncommon, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or if you had a way to force your opponent to flip the card. I don't remember if there was a way to do that or not, but it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. And I think, again, depending on what you get in the affiliation, so in future, if we start to see more new gods and we get ones that create other abilities, like perhaps there's one that gives somebody Overcrush, right?
Yeah.
Then the common would be the one you want to go with, because the other new gods are going to get +2 attack, +2 defense. And then if something grants them Overcrush, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, you can even with her uncommon, there's globals out there that make things a villain. So if you know possibly something's going to attack on your opponent's side and on your priority, you can make it a villain. And then
even in the global window in the attack step, because the KO is not going to happen until after cleanup, right?
Yeah.
So if your opponent attacks something that's not a villain, you could make it a villain in the global window, and then she's not going to take any damage.
Yeah, so there's ways to play around that. So
there is.
So yeah, there's an action die will give everything a villain, but that's only on your turn, so it won't work on the opponent's side, like when it's their turn.
Yeah, but there's also villain maker globals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's globals you can pay to make things villains. So yeah, it's interesting. I think all three of them have a place in the right team.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they're cards that we haven't seen a lot of in regular play. I didn't draft the Batman set, so I don't know if these got played in draft. But at a 5 cost, I'm going to say they probably didn't.
Yeah, unless
they're not really winning conditions.
Unless you had Mr. Miracle and Orion, unless you pulled them. And you kind of went themey. But yeah, they're high cost, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's interesting, and hopefully we'll get more new gods in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you played with her, let us know. Or what are your thoughts on Big Barda?
Yeah. What do you think of Big Barda's backstory? What do you think about her sort of reverse stereotype of being, stronger than her husband, which very, of the time, that, the husband was the strong provider and she was the opposite. She was the strong provider in her family, or the strong caretaker. We'd love to hear what you think about that.
Yeah. What's next? We have a lot of stuff to talk about actually today, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I feel like we're doing I feel like we should have like segments, but because we have a lot of things to talk about. But
I don't know. This is our first time ever really having so much things to talk about.
We're not so segmenty, so.
No.
So let's talk about the news.
Yes. And what news is that? The WizKids news. And what news is that?
So WizKids put out a press release last week at the time of this recording. And it has some tentative release timelines, and it was called What's Up with Dice Masters. So the first thing I want to do is put a big thank you out to Jimmy at WizKids and all of the team at WizKids for finally getting an article out about Dice Masters. We have seen some articles about HeroClix come out about what's going on there, because HeroClix just had a fairly significant, what I would call a lengthy delay, which is not very common for HeroClix. It seems to be pretty well on top of it, and WizKids has done a good job of keeping the HeroClix community in the loop. So this is the first time we've seen something like this with Dice Masters in a while, and I really appreciated that WizKids took the time to put it out, because I think it was a pretty well thought out article.
Yeah.
So in it, they talked a little bit about the unprecedented situation that we have found ourselves in as a result of a number of things, like the pandemic. They don't really state that specifically in the article. They just say it's been an unprecedented time. But they do give us some updates on the upcoming releases. So I think the first sort of big shocker for me in particular was that the next set is no longer going to be Dark Phoenix Saga. It's going to be Kryptonite Crisis.
Yay! No, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? No.
You can be excited.
I love DC, and I can't wait for Kryptonite.
And it's interesting because initially, Kryptonite Crisis was supposed to be the next set. And then they flipped it and put Dark Phoenix first.
And they flipped it again.
And so now they flipped it again. So we're going to get Kryptonite Crisis. They're saying Q1 of 2022. So we're not going to get any new Dice Masters until 2022. And Q1, of course, could be any time between January and March. There's not a firm date yet, but they're pretty confident enough that they've updated the solicits and put out this article. They said Dark Phoenix Saga will follow approximately 8 weeks after Kryptonite Crisis. And then they said that coming in June of 2022, we should see the Secret Wars set and the Fantastic Four versus Galactus set, which is the solo play variant that was announced in 2020. Is going to be coming out in 2022.
It's kind of interesting that they put them both as June.
Well,
not separating that.
From what I've heard, again, from friends who know comics, the Fantastic Four and Secret Wars have some synergies in them in the story.
Okay.
So there could be a reason for that. And also it's sort of an opportunity potentially to get people into the game with the non-collectible Fantastic Four versus Galactus set, which is sort of, it's not randomized in any way. And then Secret Wars is the random piece that supplements it. So kind of think about starter packs and draft boosters from the days before. So that's how I see it. So that's the current tentative timeline for what we're going to be seeing with sets. There is a one line in there with a hint at there's going to be some news coming down the pipe about what the future of organized play would look like in 2022. So it's just a hint that organized play is potentially going to return at stores. And we have heard that from Jimmy in conversations he's had on podcasts, including our own. So that was really, really good to hear. And then the other thing that came out that was very interesting, and I'm the most excited about this part, Kim, is that they've redesigned the cards, the text on the cards. So if you've seen the cards from Infinity Gauntlet, you can see how beautiful they are. The art is gorgeous. The foil effects are really great. And they're all what they call full art. So the text box has art in the background. It's been, in the black and white and grayscale. But it's there. And then the text is on top. And the text is very pretty. But the text is very stylized. And it can be hard to read, particularly on the foils. Secondly, a cause that is near and dear to my heart is the color of the text, particularly global text on that white background or the gray background. It's always been red, and 11% of Caucasian men and 8% of men in general have some form of color blindness, typically red-green. And what that means is that you can't see or have trouble seeing red or green if it's on a white or gray background. And then that affects 0.5% of women, so fewer women than men. Why, I don't really know. I don't have the science behind it, but it's a thing that's quite common. And again, you can have like a deficiency in your color, or you can have a full-on color blindness to those colors. And it just depends on your own eyes and how you've developed. But I myself have a bit of a red-green color deficiency, and sometimes I find it hard to read cards in certain lights or when they don't have the right backgrounds and things like that. So WizKids took some feedback they'd heard, not just from me, but from a number of folks. And they've redesigned the card so that the text isn't as fancy looking in the Kryptonite Crisis cards and what's coming forward, but it's easier to read.
Yeah.
Black. On the background, and it's much simpler to read. And they've changed the color of the global to more of a blue color.
I see purple, but we'll go with that.
Blue, purple, just depends on your angle and your colors on your screen and whatever. So we don't have it in hand yet, but it is definitely more readable than what we've seen in Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, even looking at the Dark Phoenix spoilers stuff, we can't even read that.
It can be very challenging to read.
Oh, yeah.
So Dark Phoenix, from the sounds of it, is already printed or is in the process of being printed or something like that, because it's going to remain the current style, what we saw in Infinity Gauntlet. But Kryptonite Crisis and the other sets will have the new text treatment. So we're actually going to get new look and feel cards in Kryptonite Crisis first. They'll go back to the old look and feel with Dark Phoenix, I'm assuming, because it's already been printed and is in shipping or stuck in a container somewhere. And then when we move forward to Fantastic Four versus Galactus and Secret Wars, they'll continue back with the new look that we saw in Kryptonite Crisis. So I'm really excited about that, to see the different color and the different text style and the fact that it's going to be a little bit more readable for a number of reasons. First off, selfishly, I think it'll be better. Secondly, there's so much playing online right now, right, Kim?
Yeah, a lot.
It'll be easier for people online to read your cards. I think that'll be good. It'll be the same in person, easier to read your cards in person, and people won't be squinting and struggling to read them, particularly in the foil. I think it's going to be a lot easier to read. So that's the big news from WizKids. So new Dice Masters product in 2022, which feels like a long time away. However, I'm going to put it out there. It's almost September 2021. So, it's really not that far away. It could be, again, quarter one, it's 3 months long. So it could be, 6 to 9 months before we see product, but it's going to be here before we know it.
Yep. And they spoiled some cards, so you could take a look on their site, or I'm sure all our other content creators have them up on their site as well.
Absolutely. So that's the WizKids news. So what do you think, Kim? What excites you?
Kryptonite.
Kryptonite.
And it's funny though, because they spoiled 3 super rares, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sure everybody will want a hands on that Harley Quinn textless card.
Yeah,
too.
that was spoiled a while ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah,
I think
so.
Yeah, foiled, right? So
Yeah. I imagine that we will see more spoilers start to come out about Kryptonite Crisis now, because we had quite a slew of spoilers of Dark Phoenix Saga, but knowing now that Dark Phoenix has been pushed back and we're going to get Kryptonite first, I think we'll probably start seeing Kryptonite Crisis spoilers.
yeah. And can't wait. I mean, Kryptonite for sure. Dark Phoenix wasn't really an okay kind of thing to me. Been there, done that. Okay. It's been a while since we've seen DC, I think.
It has.
So, yeah.
Well, the last DC set was the Justice Campaign box and affiliated team packs.
Yeah, so I feel like it's been a while.
Mystics and Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
So
and Secret Wars sounds interesting, and I don't really know about that story. And Fantastic Four and Galactus with the solo play seems very interesting too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
For sure.
We got a couple more things to run through here, Kim. So what have you been doing?
Nothing.
In the world of Dice Masters?
No, just, still playing the weekly Dice Arena, which now can I say partnered with Ross? I don't know.
I think you can.
Yeah, I think we can.
You're here and Ross isn't, so you can say whatever you want.
So Ross, busy life, with a baby and all the stuff going on, and I think he started back teaching because they start early in the U.S. for some reason.
Yeah, and I heard that him and Nikki just bought a new house.
Yeah, so he's been very busy, and he approached me if I wanted to help run WDA. Maybe we take a rotational if anybody else is interested that doesn't want to stream but can run it through Discord or whatnot. So I'm going to be helping him out with that, and we'll probably go on a rotational kind of schedule. Nice. So Dice Social will host WDA every other week, and we'll see.
Yeah.
And exciting.
You were kind of doing that on an informal basis to help out Ross, especially when the baby first came and things like that. So.
Yeah. So, Ross, we're partners, okay?
Make sure you get in some of that that Twitch money.
Right. So that's exciting. And if I could play, I'll play. But obviously, if there's even numbers, I won't be. I'll just host it. So that continues on. And we still have other stuff going on in the week. You got your dice fight on Thursdays, which is at 4:00 Eastern.
I don't play that one.
No.
But you've just been building teams for me to play that I haven't played yet.
Yeah, so Jocelyn and I still need to get together and play our, switcheroo, double switcheroo game.
Yep.
We have another, our teams that we build and switch the teams and replay each other's teams still to do.
Yep.
Been playing some other games with Donnie, but it's kind of been a little bit, not too much with Donnie because the summer has kind of been busy.
Yeah.
Especially in August. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a busy time. I know up here where we are, they've started to relax some restrictions. So people are more busy because they're out able to do things as opposed to the lockdown we spent the last, 18 months in. So
I know. I went to the restaurant one time and it was like the first time in 17 months. I couldn't believe it. So, it's just been a bit busy. But, just keeping busy. I haven't even drawn in that while either because I've been so kind of busy. But I'm hoping to get back to regular schedule soon. So
cool.
Yeah. You?
I played in real life Dice Masters.
Dun, dun, dun.
IRL, man. Rob and I went on vacation. And we headed up to our nation's capital, which is the Ottawa region of Canada. And I've got some family up there that we visited with. And we also reached out to all of our Dice Masters family. And we played 2 nights in a row of Dice Masters in real life with friends. And that was really awesome. So I want to put a shout out to Shaw and the crew at Game Breakers in Nepean, which is just west of Ottawa, suburb of Ottawa. And we played there on the Monday night, and we did a modern constructed. I wasn't sure how competitive it was going to be, but I wanted to start putting together something a little bit more modern-y.
Okay.
Playing with some cards I hadn't played with yet. So I put together the start of an Awaken team using the rare collector from Infinity Gauntlet that can bring in a character die with a purchase cost of 3 or less when you spin them up. And I was working, so I had him in there. I didn't really run that much, but it was there. And I was really focused on the rare Nebula, which says when you awaken her, when you spin her up, you deal 1 damage to target character die and 2 damage to target opponent.
It's a cool
so
card.
That's what I was doing. It was a lot of fun. I won one of my 3 games. I went up against a Becky team by 4 cost deck.
Only for the global, right?
No, not only for the global. It was Overcrushing with a Jerry Lawler basic action and the Booker T basic action. But it wasn't fully optimized because it had been built for a single set event, which meant that it didn't have anything to stop me from using my static field against the attacking character die. So I was able to do that. I went up against a super rare Thor team. It took a little while to get going, and I certainly kept it slowed down, but I ended up ultimately succumbing to that one. And that super rare Thor from Infinity Gauntlet is the one that says, when you field the character die, I deal 2 damage to target opponent. So I went up against that, and that team was built with a bunch of really low cost, like 1 cost and 2 cost characters to just sort of spam and field. And I had very kindly brought her a collector global to let her pay a mask and field a sidekick. So, so there was, I was a contributor to my own demise there.
Yep.
And the third team I went up against was a team that the player was just kind of trying to develop. He had a couple of different things going on. There was some swarm. There was a lot of control. There was a Drax, the pacifist from Infinity Gauntlet. There was a Typhoid Mary from Infinity Gauntlet. So the Drax prevents you from fielding or purchasing a character, and the Typhoid Mary makes your character blank. So a lot of control there, and the win condition was actually just Venerable Dreadnought, Custodian of Knowledge, I think is the subtitle, which is the one that gives all your character dice range 1. Mm-hmm. And he was just, ranging out my people and trying to stomp across the field, which is what you do with that card. So it was fairly effective. Again, I kept the game going for quite a while, but we had a good time playing. And ultimately I claimed half victory in that game because my opponent was still new to his team. He was trying to figure out what to do. And it was really his only win condition. And he was like, I don't know what I should do. I'm like, dude, you need to buy a Venerable Dreadnought. And I'm sure that he would have eventually. But,
Did you win this game?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but I drew it out. So, but ultimately I did lose it. So, but it was the win condition, and it was a smart way to go. It was the right decision to make. So I had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. So that was the Monday night. And then on the Tuesday night, we headed across the provincial border over to Gatineau, and we went to Multizone, and we hung out with our fellow dmNorther CCM quadruple 07, aka Laurier. And that was really fun because we had Laurier there. We had a couple of the regulars from the Ottawa area, Rob and myself, and we were an odd number. So Laurier brought his son, William.
Hey.
His oldest son, and we did a Green Arrow and the Flash draft. So they had a bunch of Green Arrow and the Flash booster packs that they'd been sort of sitting on waiting for the right time to draft, and the right time was when Rob and I went up to visit. So we drafted Green Arrow and the Flash with a couple of extra packs, random packs in there to help us fill out the draft numbers, and we had a good time. It had been a long time since I'd opened booster packs. I did not do particularly well with the team, but I did do what I call winning in draft, which is rare drafting. And
rare, super rare drafting.
I didn't get any super rares, but I did get some rares, and that I needed, and so that was really good. I put together a team that was fun to play, but it didn't really work the way I thought it did, so I ran into a bit of trouble there. But that was fine. And also, Kim, I got you a Merlin die.
Yay! Because I can't find mine to save my life.
Well, I have 3, but it's one of those dice that I never had 4 of. So now I have 1 for me and I have 1 for you.
Awesome. I figured you'd probably... I mean, maybe it's a little rare to get Merlin.
There were only 2 in the whole draft.
Yeah, I think it's rare to get him as a card.
It was hard to find him. Both the cards that I drafted both of them, obviously, because I got us both a die, were the common, which is he just has fast. His ability, so he deals combat damage before other character dice do. But I was able to get the 2 dice, so that was good, and I got some rares. I know Rob got some rares that he needed. It was
anybody get King Shark? King Shark.
I think there was King Shark. I think Laurier got King Shark. I think he was playing a King Shark team. I didn't get to play Laurier, so I don't know for sure. But yeah, it was an interesting draft because there was some like chaos stuff going on there. Like at one point, like I had a Captain Marvel on my team from Civil War, I think. And because I drafted that card, and it's just one of those things. It was a 7 cost. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, so it was fun. We got to do that. It was in real life Dice Masters, and I really enjoyed it. I miss playing in person. I know Rob and I've been playing some games for Dice Station Zebra, but it's nice to play with other people, and it was really nice to see our friends in the Ottawa area. So thanks so much for hosting us at Game Breakers and Multi-Zone, and hopefully we'll be back again soon.
Cool.
So that is what I've been doing.
Adventure. Your last week adventure into Texas.
And my adventure, yes. Yeah. Now I'm back to work and catching up and crazy.
Back to the boring, normal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. We also have another event coming up.
We do.
August 28th is Dice Social. Yay.
I heard that.
Well, I should really say yay because it's a theme of my favorite card. I think I'm gonna declare that Orbital Strike is probably my favorite card.
Ever.
I think it tops team up.
Are you putting that in Stan? Are you chiseling that in rock here, or what's going on?
I tattooed it.
Oh my gosh. That's committed.
I did tattoo it. But no, I think it's my favorite card. I think I love it so much because it's such a love-hate relationship that I gonna say that Orbital Strike is my number 1 favorite card right now.
Well, that's awesome, Kim.
We'll see if anything changes when Kryptonite Crisis comes out. But yeah, so our theme is around Orbital Strike. And you have to have Orbital Strike. So it's a basic action card. And what it does is you roll Orbital Strike and you roll all your characters in the field zone. And anything that comes back on character face, you add up all the attack value, and that's the damage you're going to do to your player. I'm sorry, to the opponent's life. If it rolls a double asterisk, you can attack. That's the card text on it.
But only with one character, right?
Oh, it's only with one character, yeah. So for this theme is you have to have Orbital Strike on your team as a basic action, and you have to win by Orbital Strike. So you can't win any other way. You can attack for all you want if you want to, which I don't think you would. But no damage is going to be dealt to life if that goes through. So you have to win by Orbital Strike. You can build any team you wish, except that the cards that have abilities on it would be considered blank, except for any globals on cards. So you can bring a blank card. That's fine. You can bring, if you really want to, Becky, but her ability will be blank. except for her global.
Cool.
The other basic action could be anything you wish. That is not considered blank. All right. So none of the basic actions are considered blank. They're whatever you want to be, except you have to have Orbital Strike.
Cool.
So should be fun. And I have my Orbital Strike GIF ready to go, or GIF, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Ready to go for that day, because I'll be clicking.
Who was that
button
did that for you?
a lot.
Was it Peter Vanderbilder?
Yeah. Thanks again, Peter. I love that. It's on the thing. So every time I play it or I roll it, it comes up on the screen. So I'll be playing that a lot on that Saturday. So that's
Nice.
Saturday, August 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. And the other places you can play Dice Masters online on a regular basis, you've got Weekly Dice Arena, which is, as we mentioned, is being alternated now between the DM North Twitch channel, which is dmNorthTV, and Final Ross Battle, which is Ross's channel on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And there's Dice Fight on Thursdays, which is at 4 p.m. Eastern, if you're interested in that. And it's 10 p.m. Slovakia time and 9 p.m. UK time. And that's every Thursday, and that's run by the James from DM United, and you can join that by dropping into the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Dice Masters Online Discord.
And that's it.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote.
That's all Big Barda asked for.
That's all she asked for. And her powerful stick rod thing of mighty
Mega
boo.
Rod. Her stick rod.
What was the thing that comes out of it again?
Concussive force.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So anyway, on that note, Kim, I think we should wrap it up there.
Yes.
So if you would like to reach out to us, because we would love to hear from you, you can send us an email to tripledpodcast@dm-north.com like Andy May did. You can send us a Discord message. You can @SuperK or @JoceStitch, JOCE Stitch on Discord. You can comment on our YouTube video like Donnie and Matt and Rob from Breath Weapon X, which is youtube.com/dmNorthTV. And you can also find us on all the social medias as dmNorthTV, which include twitch.tv, YouTube, as I just mentioned, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And until next time, on a double and dice.
Double and dice are really nice. They are part of DM North, even though they get cold, they still roll. Every month at the Dice Social, there ain't nothing online that's as good a time as losing life to an Orbital Strike. If they use Becky Lynch, it'll be a cinch because, oh, hey, it's just for the Global. I promise, it's just for the Global. I won't buy it.